All right. Good morning to our East Coast audience, and good morning to our West Coast audience as well. We aren't quite past noon. Wanted to welcome you to a quick live chat. I'm Sean Miller, the editor of Campaigns and Elections. I'm here with Michael, the CEO of White Ops.
Hello, happy to be here.
Welcome. We just got off your keynote address here at Campaigns Tech East. You were giving us an overview of what's happening in terms of ad fraud. What's the number one thing campaigns should be looking out for this cycle?
Well, first, understand the economic driver of fraud here. There's an incredible influx in campaign spending, and the internet is magically absorbing all of that money. Every time you're buying an ad, you're buying a promise that your ad's going to get served when there's a huge increase in the number of ads that are bought, but there isn't a huge increase in people browsing the internet and therefore opportunities to serve them ads. That creates a huge opening for cyber criminals to goose the size of the audience by generating fake views with malware. So the only defense that buyers have is to start with being skeptical about how their orders are actually going to get filled and how those orders are going to get micro-targeted in the ways that political advertisers typically care about. And you need to right-size those buys. There isn't an infinite online audience, and when you're trying to reach a narrow group of people in a particular state or district, then you have to first just be skeptical of the kinds of reach that the people you're buying from are providing.
Now, Michael, sorry to talk over you. Wanted to just get to a quick point that you made earlier. Metrics. There's no, because folks on the vendor side say, look, you can look at these metrics. We look at these metrics. You're going to get the quality ad buy out of just doing this analysis. What do you say to that?
Well, what I say is, if that worked, we would have never shown up here because the problem would have been solved already. Right? So advertising has been metrics driven with data scientists for years now. In fact, I think every ad tech company on the face of the planet says we have awesome data and we have awesome data scientists. So if that was truly effective, then this problem would be gone already. So clearly data is not a magic bullet, and there's no true set of metrics that just optimizes the fraud away.
Now, what about, I know it's hard to put a number on this, but in terms of ad fraud dollars, or dollars going to ad fraud, when I'm making, let's say I'm putting $100,000 into digital advertising,
right.
What expectation should I have if I'm a cynic and I'm concerned about ad fraud? What percentage do you think would go to to bot traffic,
right.
ads that are never viewed?
All right, I'd say set a baseline expectation of 5% of your money going to cybercriminally generated bogus audience, and that number can creep up as your own buying gets narrower and narrower towards an audience that might not truly exist. That 5% baseline is based on what's normal across the digital ad ecosystem. As political advertising rises, the money must get spent whether or not the audience is truly there. So we think that 5% can actually creep up to extraordinarily high percentages. I don't want to scare anyone, but we've seen real ad buys by smart people doing everything right, 90% fraudulent. So, the upper bound is practically 100%.
Concern, a lot of concern. So just to bring it home, I mean, you mentioned, adding the human element, taking the automation out of this process. Obviously, folks can hire your firm if they're, in the market for something like that, or another firm that does, monitoring. Is that the key? Is it having that additional layer of protection?
Well, you need to arm yourself. As my colleague Dan Kaminsky said, you don't send your bakers to fight the other side's soldiers. You have to send soldiers to fight soldiers. Similarly, you probably need some hackers to fight hackers. On the other hand, technology is definitely not a silver bullet. I run a tech company, and I would love it if we could just automate this problem away. However, there is no replacement for savvy business operations. That means changing the terms and conditions of your buys to make sure that you're buying a real, organic human audience, because those business moves invite no counter move from the hackers. Like, when we innovate some new way of catching the malware, then the malware authors adapt. But there's no way to upgrade the bots to beat your updated terms and conditions.
Sure.
So those kinds of business process changes have longevity and have a lot of value.
One last quick question. We hear this from a lot of digital vendors. They say, look, we'll refund the buy that goes to fraudulent traffic.
Right.
What's your take on that? Is that sort of like, money back guarantee from something you've got to ship back to a manufacturer? It's a big pain. Or is it a genuine offer?
Right. That's a great question. I love the fact that we're starting to see competition on inventory quality in this space. That's what those money back guarantees are about, but they're not all written the same. In fact, when you poke at those guarantees, the way a lot of them work is actually, if you catch us defrauding you, then we'll give you the money back, which is hardly a guarantee. Like, that's how business should work, right? There are some that are going above and beyond with proactive protection from independent third parties. That kind of thing blows me away. That's what you should be impressed by, not the paper-thin guarantees.
Michael Tiffany, CEO of White Ops, thank you very much. I'm Sean Miller with Campaigns and Elections. Thank you for watching.
It's a pleasure.